As we know, the otherworld in Coraline is a very mysterious and scary world, and it has literally been theorized for a total of 13 years. Now, most of the theories are focused on the cat, Coraline never escaping, Beldam, and the bugs. But I think people are forgetting something else, the other father and other wybie. We get introduced to the other father the first time Coraline goes into the other world, when she's told by her other mother to go get him and tell him supper's ready. Now, knowing this isn't her real dad, nothing's really out of the ordinary yet, especially since we just saw her other mother right before this and kind of broke the ice on the weirdness. Now, when we meet the other wybie, it's a lot more out of the ordinary. Upon first glance, nothing's really different. Just another person from her life with button eyes. But it gets weird when we realize other mother took away his ability to talk, which she explains by saying, "I thought you'd like him more if he spoke a little less." This sentence doesn't seem suspicious yet, because as we know, Coraline is annoyed by wybie, and even says right as he enters, "Great, another wybie." But as the movie progresses, we will realize other mother was lying, and this wasn't the real reason he was mute. You might be wondering, why am I not focusing on any other person from the other world, since every single person got replicated? We got the mom, Mr. Babinski, Mrs. Spink, and Miss Forcible. Well, we know that the other mother is actually Beldam, an evil spider witch, so we don't really need to focus on her. Mr. Babinski, Miss Spink, and Miss Forcible don't really interact with Coraline like other wybie and other dad. Most every time she sees them, they're performing from afar and not directly talking to Coraline. And when directly talking to Coraline, just deliver a couple of lines that honestly seem kinda inhumane. Miss Spink and Miss Forcible don't even say a word to Coraline the first time they meet. Speaking of inhumane, after the movie takes the dark twist and Coraline gets offered the eyes and realizes the other mother isn't who she thought she is, Coraline has to find the eyeballs of the children to free their souls. On this journey, Coraline visits her neighbors once again. Upon walking back to where Miss Spink and Miss Forcible originally were, it is now dark and empty except for a large candy wrapper on stage. This symbolizes their love for candy, as throughout the whole movie they try to make Coraline feel better with just candy. So far, not super weird. Anyways, when she opens the wrapper, her neighbors rip through and are now kinda human candy monsters, and just like before, during the scene they say pretty inhumane responses. The whole interaction consists of literally 5 words: please, give, it, back, and stop. As if they are incapable of saying anything else, like they were simply coded with these 5 responses. Now, if you don't know the theory that Coraline is trapped in this world, then the word coded might have just thrown you off. Pretty much Beldam, as we could probably tell by how the world has changed from before, is capable of transforming realities and people, and nothing Coraline sees is real. Even when Coraline goes to see Mr. Babinski, we can see this as it turns out he also wasn't even real and was just a bunch of rats. Speaking of rats, the mice from before that were in his show were also rats, which means Beldam has been hiding the real reality with a prettier one. This is even proven when Coraline goes back into the house and everything is now bugs. As if they were always bugs, but Beldam just made everything look normal. Now, what I am saying is that mostly everything in this reality isn't real or conscious. But see how I said mostly? That's because there are 3 beings in this world besides Coraline that are actually real and conscious. Beldam, obviously, and other father and other wybie. Just wait, I can explain. Remember earlier when I was talking about other mother's explanation on why wybie can't talk and how it was false? Well, here's how I know. When Coraline first meets the cat in the other world and realizes he can talk, the cat starts to warn her about how this world isn't as perfect as she thinks. Now, Coraline doesn't believe him, and when he defends his argument is when we realize there is something deeper about other wybie. The cat claims, "You probably think this world is a dream come true, but you're wrong. The other wybie told me so." What this implies is that the other wybie understands what Beldam is doing is wrong and wants to warn Coraline and just simply disagrees with Beldam, which probably puts her plans at risk. I think wybie must have told the cat this information with the hope he would share it with Coraline, which he did. Now, this is barely even a theory because there's more to it. Even though wybie couldn't talk, he still ends up helping Coraline. Coraline gets trapped in a mirror after talking back to her other mother and gets stuck there in kind of like a purgatory. Other wybie is the one who takes her out and brings her back to the tunnel to escape. This shows that other wybie has a heart and free will and wants to help Coraline. If wybie was just another mindless pawn, he would have never done something against Beldam. Wybie doing this shows that if he could talk, he definitely would have warned Coraline, and this is exactly why he was mute. If you're still not convinced, after Coraline gets offered the button eyes, she tries to escape after not being able to wake up back in her original reality and goes to see her father. He kind of starts to reveal the horrors of the other mother, to which the piano literally shuts him up. This shows that he also has free will and isn't a mindless pawn in Beldam's control. After realizing even though he has free will, he isn't powerful enough to rebel against Beldam. Anyways, Coraline brings up that she's gonna go find wybie instead, and he responds by saying, "No point. He pulled a long face and mother didn't like it." This finalizing that wybie does have free will and is not under complete control of Beldam because he can do wrong. Sadly though, he and other father are forced to follow her lead because of the punishments, which we can see when other wybie's face is all sewed up and other father's body starts to deteriorate. Now I said that the other dad had a heart, but I haven't really explained why yet. So when Coraline was searching for the eyes, her first stop was the garden, which was being guarded by her other dad and his flying praying mantis. Throughout the fight, the other dad makes it clear that he doesn't want to hurt her, saying, "I'm sorry, so sorry, mother's making me. I don't want to hurt you." During this fight, we also realize he isn't even doing anything. The praying mantis is really the one that is in Beldam's control, but this doesn't stop him. Because of his free will and his heart, he breaks the praying mantis apart and hands Coraline the eyes, saying, "Take it." So the question arises, why are other wybie and other father this way? Well, this is because they are actually humans trapped in this world. So we know that when Beldam proposes the deal of the button eyes, she's actually asking you for your soul. This is proven by the real life phrase that says eyes are the windows to the soul. And if that phrase isn't enough, we know for a fact that Beldam has taken 3 souls, the souls of the children. Now I know that you're probably noticing the difference in looks between the kids and other father and other wybie, but let me explain. There's a theory that Beldam consumes the soul of children for strength and power, which makes sense since kids are full of life and purity. Now other wybie and other father weren't kids when taken, they were adults, and this is exactly why when taking their souls, she found more use of them alive than to eat them. Beldam's strong, but not strong enough. This is shown by how she got lazy and has an empty white void of nothing, and more simply by just the other father saying, "All be swell soon as mother's been refreshed, her strength is our strength." This shows that running this big simulation takes a toll on her. This is exactly why I think she lured 2 adults to simulate the main people in the kids' lives. Beldam's already creating such a huge simulation, and I think having 2 adults that all she has to do is change her appearance helps make sure she doesn't lose all her power. You can even tell this with how lazy the other neighbors were simulated. It seemed like they had a limited vocabulary for them since they never really held a full conversation with Coraline. Now knowing she didn't eat their souls, you might be confused on how these humans look identical to people in Coraline's life. This shows that Beldam is capable of changing the appearance of whatever she wants in this world, even a human being. As the other world does start showing how it really looks, the other father in the end looks like a pumpkin, which doesn't really look like a human, but when doing some research I found out that biblically, if you dream about a pumpkin, this is a sign of witchcraft, which it is. Beldam is a witch and is doing witchcraft on this human to make him look a way he is not. I also don't think Beldam would have ever revealed his true form to Coraline, because that would have terrified her even more, and she still wants to win over Coraline. Also, after other wybie helps Coraline escape, we see his hand fade away. This could be because she finally consumed his soul since she can't trust him anymore, which means she'll probably lure another adult into the world. Look, I know, I might be reaching, but I really think adults can also be very unhappy and want a shot at the perfect life. I mean, you're really gonna tell me if you went into a tunnel into the most perfect life you've ever seen, and I'm talking like perfect, you wouldn't say yes to the buttons? I'll be honest, I feel like there's a 50% chance I would say yes. But what I'm trying to say is that there's definitely no doubt Beldam could also lure an adult to the other world. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking.